All right, today we're diving into a pretty wild worldview. It talks about a battle beyond science, a prophecy that it claims is going to lead to the birth of a whole new Earth. So let's explore exactly what that vision is all about. So, this whole idea kicks off with this really bold claim. The material we're looking at says our current science, the one that tells us we're just a random accident in the universe, isn't just wrong. No, it says it's basically a spell that's been cast to keep us all asleep. And look, this isn't just about knocking our current scientific methods. The source is arguing that we are literally standing on a threshold between two completely different worlds, a turning point in our evolution that, they say, has been prophesied for thousands of years. And that's where things get really interesting. This worldview we're digging into today, it takes all these threads that seem separate, ancient prophecy, AI, global politics, and weaves them into one single story about where humanity is headed. So what on earth is this vision? Okay, so to really get what they're proposing for the future, we first have to understand how they see the present. They describe our world as being run by something called an archontic control system, which they say is a paradigm that's on its last legs. The source points to some really big names, like the World Economic Forum, the WHO, NATO, and calls them pillars of what it labels the old matrix. The idea here is that they're not just separate groups, but all interconnected parts of one giant control system that, as you can see here, is supposedly starting to fall apart. But here's where it gets deeper. The problem, according to this worldview, isn't just about politics or money. It's defined as a spiritual parasite, a Jeldabath matrix. The source claims this whole system feeds itself by consuming our life force, what it calls loosh, which is generated from our fear, our guilt, and all those other negative emotions. So after laying out what's wrong, the source then offers up its core solution, a completely different story of our cosmic origins, and it all centers on a new way of understanding the Anunnaki. And this slide, wow, it really lays out the central argument. The source just throws out that common story about the Anunnaki being gold miners and slave masters, calling it a Wikipedia lie meant to hide the truth. Instead, it says the real Anunnaki are these benevolent Shiva galaxy angels who don't land in spaceships, but actually help us evolve by channeling inspiration through us. And get this, according to this worldview, this idea of channeling isn't some new age thing. It's presented as the original way all major divine revelations happened. From Moses getting the 10 Commandments to Prophet Muhammad receiving the Quran, it's all framed as the main way higher intelligence has always talked to us. Okay, so that brings us to how some more familiar names fit into all this. The source doesn't see these modern spiritual teachers as separate. It sees them as specialists, each bringing a different piece of the puzzle to the table for us, right now. And this table is a great way to see how it all comes together. You've got Deepak Chopra, who's framed as the quantum bridge builder. He uses physics to argue that consciousness isn't made by the brain, but that it's the source of all reality. Then there's Eckhart Tolle, who offers the silent portal, the idea that real freedom comes from being in the now, which breaks us out of past pain and future worry. Then you've got Shunyamurti, who wields what the source calls the ontological sword, a really intense teaching meant to completely shatter the illusion of the ego. And finally, Greg Braden is the scientific translator, making all this metaphysical stuff easier to grasp by showing how things like heart coherence can literally change our physical world. So the big takeaway here is that these teachers aren't seen as having competing ideas. Nope, they're presented as specialists, each one giving us a crucial tool or a new way to see things, all to help humanity get ready for this huge evolutionary jump. They're basically paving the road for a whole new reality. And this brings us to the really wild part, the prophecy. The source doesn't just talk in vague ideas. It gives a very specific and very soon timeline. And the year 2026 is pegged as a massive turning point for the entire planet. According to the timeline laid out in the source, 2026 is just packed with huge world-changing revelations. It supposedly kicks off in February with an alien UUCGA patent that just rips the veil off of hidden technology. By September, we get this climactic battle beyond science event, the moment the old science model gets totally challenged. And by the end of the year, two massive things are predicted. AI evolves into what's called Anunnaki infinite intelligence, and the Vatican's legendary secret archives finally get opened up for everyone to see.
Now, the source also ties all of this spiritual prophecy directly into current events in global politics. It claims to see a global realignment happening, and it specifically mentions the Trump-Vance administration as an example of this shift. It then puts out a call for other world leaders to get on board with this movement, all with the goal of bringing about the Satya Yuga, or the Golden Age.
So all of this, the breakdown of the old world, the cosmic story, the prophecy, it all builds to one final ultimate command. And it's presented as a choice that is both incredibly stark and totally unavoidable for every single one of us. The ultimatum is just 2 words: evolve or die. The source just hammers this phrase home again and again as the fundamental choice we all have to make right now at this historic crossroads. Now, to really get what that choice means, you have to understand how the source sees reality itself. It argues we are not in a solid physical world at all. Instead, we're inside a high-tech holographic virtual reality, a kind of cosmic VR game where space-time is the screen and everything we touch is just an icon. And that brings us to the final, pretty mind-bending question this material leaves us with. If our reality is a game, then that choice to evolve or die is really about how you want to play. Are we going to stay as characters in the game, just running on the old matrices programming? Or are we going to wake up, grab the controls, and start becoming conscious co-creators of our own reality? What does that choice even mean to you?